This is CG Ruthless Sports. I will be brutally honest. Ain't nothing but being brutally honest. Coming at you with another video.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Rams GOAT, Jake Ellenbogen. What's up, man?
Rams GOAT? Oh, I appreciate you, man. Not much, just constantly just talking about this game. I mean, I have literally done like 7 previews for this game, so I couldn't be any more ready for it to start.
Oh, yeah, man. I've seen you have Johnny Dale, the good breakdown guy. He's an awesome dude.
Yeah, no, he's a great dude. You're a great dude. I mean, I think the 49ers creators, everyone that I've interacted with, Camper Report, there's another one who's such a nice guy, and I forget his name, and I feel bad.
Awesome, dude.
But I've had some really nice 49ers creators reach out to me over the last 2 years. And I mean, hey, I think it's all love between the creators. It always has been. I mean, we're all trying to grow and we're all trying to support each other. So happy to come on your show and, let's have some fun.
Oh, yeah, dude. Definitely. I think the Rams and the Niners rivalry is the most underrated by far. Like, it comes down to the wire. It either becomes more interesting than Seattle and Niners. Seattle seems to have our number, but when it comes to the Niners and Rams, it's kind of evenly matched.
Well, you're right, because really what ended up happening is during the same old sorry-ass Rams era, people forgot the Rams used to be arch rivals with the Niners. Not everybody, but it was the recency bias. You had the Legion of Boom. You had the sorry receiver like Crabtree moment. I mean, you had all those moments. And so all of a sudden now people are like talking about Seattle and San Francisco, but it wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was long ago. But wasn't that long ago. Seattle was in the AFC. These two have always been at each other's throats, the Rams and Niners. They were just bad, for a little bit. I mean, the Niners got good, the Rams didn't. And then now finally the Rams and Niners are both good, great even. So, it's added, that renewed like rivalry, like it's there, going back to, Montana and Steve Young and Jim Everett. I mean, all those guys, like the rivalry is probably even bigger now, I would say, now that they've played in an NFC title game, now that they're at each other's throats, and now that they're by far, I mean, I don't think it's even close, the two best teams in the NFC West. I think, everyone tries to act like the Cardinals are in this thing. The Cardinals team I saw against the Rams that had 81 plays on offense and didn't score a touchdown, that team is not scary. It's not. And then you look at the Cardinals against the Carolina Panthers. It took them a while to get going. That might be the worst team in football right now, the Carolina Panthers. So I don't think anybody's worried about the Cardinals. And then, of course, on your side, I don't think you're worried about Seattle. You beat them, 28-7. So, I mean, I think tonight is the biggest game of the year for both teams because I think this is such a tone setter. The 49ers can go back to 2-2. The Rams could fall to 2-2 or go to 3-1. The Niners could fall to 1-3, and they've been in that territory before. It's not unfamiliar. They played the Rams last year. They were 4-5. They needed the win. They got the win 31-10. But when you look at it, I mean, this is such a big game because, the Niners have a lot riding on it from last year, losing an NFC title game. And the Rams are trying to kind of double down like, hey, we won the NFC title game. We got the monkey off our back. Now they really got to prove that, right? So, I think they got to get a win tonight in order to keep that going because this stuff goes to your head. You know, when you can't win in a certain location, it goes to your head. Look at the Colts last year. All they had to do was beat Jacksonville, and they got to the playoffs, and they lost because they can't beat Jacksonville. They have not beaten Jacksonville in like 10 years in Jacksonville. So the Rams have not beaten the 49ers, at Levi's since 2018, back when Brandon Cooks was on the team. Todd Gurley was the best running back in football, and Jared Goff was the quarterback of the Rams. A lot has obviously changed since then.
Yeah, you're right about it. Like this is like the thing that gives us the advantage when we play at Levi. It's like you said, you guys haven't beat us since 2018, but on a Monday Night Football, the last time the Rams have beat the 49ers was in 2002. That's 20
really?
Years.
And
20 years ago. Look up the history. This is our 15th time meeting each other for the game.
That was the game. I know that game. I watched that game, believe it or not. I'm in upstate New York, and I remember watching that as a little kid. That was the one where Dre Bly ripped the ball out of Garrison Hurst's hands and ran it back. They won 30-20. Am I right? 30-20? It was 30-20?
31-20. Yeah, that was when you guys had Mike
20.
Martz and Isaac Bruce and all those other receivers with Torrey Holt. You guys were like...
That was the emergency quarterback game because Kurt Warner was out and Jamie Martin was hurt. So Scott Covington was actually the starter for that game. And Marshall Faulk was taking snaps at quarterback before the game because they were so banged up. You know, it was like an emergency deal here. But yeah, one of those. Thank you for bringing me back to the good old times. Even though they weren't even in the playoffs that year, the Rams weren't. That game was so much fun to watch. That I don't know why that game has stuck in my memory since 2002. Doesn't that say a lot? Yeah,
it's a long time. 20 years ago.
It's a long time ago. I didn't realize that was the last time they went on Monday Night Football. That is, wow. That's huge.
Oh yeah. Like historically, they've met 15, like it's going to be 15 times they beat on Monday night. So the first ever, I think it was in 72, and the Rams won the first two, and then the Niners eventually, I think you guys won the first three battles, and then it went into the Niners' favor. And then the last time you guys won was in 2002, but you guys had at least 4 wins against us, and we had 10.
Yeah, that was, correct me if I'm wrong, that was Jeff Garcia, right?
Yeah.
Jeff Garcia, Garrison Hurst, Arnaz Battle, those guys. Maybe Brandon Lloyd?
No, that was that was before they even came into the picture because they were drafted in 2003, and we had T.O.
Okay, T.O. was on the team.
Nice Streets.
Yeah, Streets. Okay.
Cedric Wilson, before they even had his son into the Cowboys. His dad was a good returner.
Yeah, that was it's funny though. I remember distinctively. I'm like, Dre Bly just took the ball out of Garrison Hurst's hands. Like it was like, someone snatching something from a baby. It was nuts. I had a lot of respect for Garrison Hurst. I think that also Kevin Barlow might have been on that team too. He was a solid backup. Yeah. But
he was in the second group.
That's funny. Oh man.
Well, here's a good question for you, man.
That's my guy. What's up, coach? So, and this is a good question because, it honestly, it's like, I see why people are definitely like, let's not lie here. Trent Williams is the best left tackle in all of football.
Yep.
So him not playing is significant, right? No doubt.
Yeah, because his pass blocking is outstanding compared to...
Exactly. And when you're looking at the 49ers, who are predominantly built to block in the run game, and they're not a great pass protecting team. When you look at McGlinchey's more of a run blocker, not really a pass protector. Brunskill, guys like that. When you see Trent Williams out, now your blind side is, it's possible to get to Garoppolo off the blind side. And so he's got such a quick trigger, such a quick release. You got to get that pass rush there because, he can make you pay. He's a very good, game manager in the fact, if you set him one read and you keep him set up where guys are open, he'll just get the ball out quick. And I feel like, when you look at, now Williams is out of the picture, now you insert Colton McKivitz. Now, what coach is saying is basically, Colton McKivitz played last year at SoFi to get him into the playoffs, and he did a good job. And that is true. The same thing could be said, and I think this is also a big thing, is Andrew Whitworth was out in the divisional round against Tampa. And I don't remember if he played against the 49ers in the NFC title game. He might not have. But the point I'm making here is that the Rams had Joe Noteboom at left tackle, who's at left tackle right now. And the way I see it is a concern, but when you have Kyle Shanahan or you have Sean McVay, it's just assumed that those guys are going to be able to scheme around that. So McKivitz won't destroy you because Kyle Shanahan won't let him destroy you. Joe Noteboom won't destroy you because Sean McVay won't let him destroy you. Although Noteboom played a hell of a game against Tampa because that was a ferocious defense. But I do understand why there are people that are like, I don't want to say giddy about an injury, but when Trent Williams isn't on the opposite team, he isn't playing, there's an advantage there. But at the same time, this is not a game, CG, where I'm looking at the Rams or I'm looking at the Niners and I'm seeing excuses because of injuries, because both teams are banged up. You got Ty Davis Price out, you got Trent Williams out, you got on the Rams side, you got Azeez Al-Shaair is out as well. There are some other guys I'm probably blanking on. But then, with the Rams, 3 out of the top 4 corners are out, right? Van Jefferson's out in this game. Kyron Williams, who is supposed to be some part of the run game, is out. Then you look at, Brian Allen, their starting center's out. David Edwards at left guard is out. I would say that the bigger issue is not Trent Williams being out, but rather David Edwards being out for the Rams. Because the backup, Colton McKivitz, has shown you he's not the best, but he played pretty well last week when needed to come in. Jalen Moore came in for 4 snaps and gave up 2 pressures. So
he got a pitch.
So you want Colton McKivitz in there, theoretically. But when you look at it, right, he could withstand the pressure of playing left tackle. I have not seen Bobby Evans withstand playing at guard. So I feel like he's going to get benched. I think Ode Abushi, who they signed, is going to come in and play guard. But that's how I see it. I feel like between these two teams, I think the bigger loss is not really Trent Williams, but it's actually David Edwards, because the Rams are already light, on their offensive line. That made them a lot lighter.
Yeah, David Edwards is like one of your best interior line, and then your center, Brian Allen. So, like, losing those 2 interior guys right there does create a lot of pressure for Stafford. So he's going to have to be able to throw that ball quickly than he would usually do. And we've seen Stafford play lately. I mean, the way he's been playing, he's averaged an interception a game, and he's already got 4 touchdown passes and 5 picks, but most of them are early at times. But that's where the pressure is going to come to Stafford, is he's going to have to throw that ball really quick.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, they got to get rid of the ball, very quickly. And I do think it opens up the door for Cooper Kupp to kind of pick you up by, finding that soft zone in the defense. Then you look over at, Ben Skowronek, who's been lining up as like our Kyle Juszczyk, right? So, he plays in the offset eye. He can play in just the straight up I formation, in line at a tight end, outside on the boundary at a wide receiver, or even in the slot. He's really emerged since the last time you saw him dropping a wide open touchdown in the end zone, the NFC title game. But I think he's somebody that they could utilize, that guy that can kind of leak out of the backfield, can give you kind of that extra check down read. Then you look at, Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers, their ability to make plays as receiver backs. And then in addition to that, you got Allen Robinson, who's been running a lot of those, type of dig routes and outs and ins and things like that, quick slants. And then on top of that, you got to worry about the tight end screen, because I'm not sitting here, CG, and bragging about a tight end screen, but no one has had an answer to this Tyler Higbee slip tight end screen. No one has had an answer. He's done a great job of disengaging from his block, getting off it, and he and Stafford are in a groove right now. It's not really being talked about, but he's somebody who's sitting there with 24 targets on the year. You have Cooper Kupp with 35. I mean, he's second on the team in targets. We were not expecting this. So I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Van Jefferson is out, and I think he was going to be a considerable part of this offense. And then in addition to that, you have to look at other guys like Brandon Powell, who they got involved early on last week. The kick returner who you may know, he actually has been utilized more as an offensive weapon. And so as, Tutu Atwell got a deep ball target down the field last week. So probably the deep ball is out of the question if Stafford doesn't have time to throw. But, you look for the end arounds. Cooper Kupp ran for a touchdown last week off an end around. They were using Brandon Powell. They could use Allen Robinson. The Rams are going to be a little tricky in this game. I think anytime you get two friends together, and I've now brought this up on every single show, I've talked about this too, but it's a good analogy. You ever play 2K with your friend or Madden or Mario, whatever, Mario Kart, you're always trying to one up your friend, right? You don't want to sit there and get beat. So Kyle Shanahan will probably have some tricks up his sleeves, and so will Sean McVay. I wouldn't be surprised if we have two wide receiver or running back passes in this game alone. Like, I actually think Cam Akers is going to throw a ball to Cooper Kupp. I think that the 49ers are going to do some weird trick play where Debo probably throws the ball or something. Like, I will not be surprised. I won't. And I just think that's when you come into these games, maybe you get a fake, you get a fake punt. Riley Dixon can throw. And he's not Johnny Hecker, but he can throw it. And, I feel like when you come into these games and they mean so much and so much is on the line, you're trying to steal a possession away. You're trying to keep that offense on the field. You're trying to, eat the clock, eat the time of possession. And a big thing that Kyle Shanahan did in that first meeting last year against the Rams, and, why it was so different from week 18 is the Rams had not seen Debo Samuel as a running back. And he put him out there and he put Jeff Wilson, all those guys, ran for 35 or 40 times. It was one of those. He ran 35 plus times against the Rams and they could not stop the run. And then it was like the Rams had never seen Debo as a running back, so they had no answer. And so I think now, this is kind of why rivalry games get so close, right? Except for the 31-10. Sometimes they occasionally get blowout, but these rivalry games are typically pretty close no matter how good or bad a team is because you get familiarity. And I feel like the Rams now have familiarity with this team, just like 49ers have familiarity with the Rams. Now, here is an advantage that is not being talked about, CG, and this is something very important. Last week, the Broncos held the 49ers to 9 points, essentially. So here's the big thing, okay? The defense was great. But the big thing with the Broncos is that their defensive coordinator, Ajiro Evero, was the Rams safety coach last year, or secondary coach. And when you look at just the different similarities to his defense to the Rams, you always have to worry that, the Broncos might have created a blueprint on how to stop this offense. And I know this from experience because going back and watching the Jared Goff Rams, Vic Fangio throws out that quarters coverage and it just stifled Goff. And it was on like a week 14 or 15 Sunday night football game. And after that was the blueprint. And Goff never recovered. You saw in the Super Bowl, Bill Belichick was all over it, and the Patriots win Super Bowl 53. That is the first start. So the Rams are smart enough to know if they go by that blueprint, it's not a guaranteed automatic win. But it does give them a look where if the 49ers don't make adjustments this week, which I believe they will, but if they don't, that's a pretty good blueprint on how to stop this Niners team.
Yeah, if you take a page off the Broncos, they were able to limit this offense to season low points. I mean, the Rams, they got the talent. They should be able to. The defense is very similar, so they should be able to see what happened the previous week, which you got to study your film on your opponents, and you guys know Jimmy too well, so at some point you guys are going to have to figure him out. Hey, try to force him to throw the ball. That would be your best shot.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, they got into some trouble. I think obviously last year, Week 18. I thought they played the first half. They were tremendous. They should have absolutely won the game if the first half ended and that was it. But you
Yeah.
have to play two halves. And the 49ers looked like they wanted to win in the second half. And the Rams blew it. But the Rams in the NFC title game, they kept blowing it. And the 49ers were up early on. If you remember, I think they were up by 10.
10
And
points.
yeah, and then the Rams came back and they won. And, I think it's a matter of, these are dogfight games, right? These are games where, I'll be honest with you, I see this being an ugly game. Ugly. Like, this is going to be running the football, quick passing. This is not going to be like, playing Madden on arcade mode, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to get 5, 6, 7 touchdowns. I don't think this is not going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be an ugly game. And I do think for Rams and 49ers fans, it'll be exactly what the doctor ordered. For fans that are neutral and they want, a lot of points, maybe not.
I ain't gonna get that.
Yeah, I don't think so. I will say this. If the Rams click this week, because they have not been clicking, they probably left 21 points on the field last week against Arizona. Like, the score does not indicate how badly the Rams dominated Arizona. They had a Cam Akers fumble at the goal line. They had a dropped goal line touchdown to Allen Robinson, and they had a dropped touchdown to Cooper Kupp. Okay, so they should have 21 points right there. If the Rams click this week, like if everything just comes together and this is the week where finally the offense clicks, it could be ugly for the Niners. Now, I'm not saying it will, because I don't think it's going to, but I could see it on both sides, because I could see the Rams trouncing the Niners if everything clicks. Down the other side, I could see the Niners, if they get 4-man pressure, they don't have to blitz. Stafford, we're looking at the same thing we saw in the Bills game. Stafford doesn't have time to throw. It gets ugly, and we could be seeing more like the 31-10 game last year. So I think that's the really interesting thing going into this game, is that while I think it's going to be ugly, I think it's going to be a close game. I could also see both teams blowing out each other. So that's kind of the interesting dynamic here, is that there are two. I think there are multiple scenarios. Obviously, there always are, and you never know how a game's going to go until you watch it. But there's just there's something weird about this game where I do feel like it's going to be ugly, and I'm going to stick to my guns on that. But there is something off that it always feels like when these two get together, like one could absolutely trounce the other. And I feel like it's just, let's be honest here, like the Rams are not, like the 49ers are not a great matchup for the Rams. Like, it works out well for the 49ers. That's why the Rams don't typically have issues with teams other than really the 49ers and Matt LaFleur's Packers, if you're being honest. I mean, they're kind of similar. It's why the Packers and Niners had such a close game last year. They play so similar. They don't have the defense the Niners have, but you know what I mean? So I feel like a lot goes into that. And it's why, like, I don't worry about the Rams Chiefs. I don't worry about the Rams and Bucks. I mean, the Rams had the Bucks number with Tom Brady. Let's be honest here. They have not beaten the Rams with Tom Brady, no matter if Goff or Stafford was under center. But it's always the Niners. They match up horribly for the Rams, which is good for Niners fans, which is bad for Rams.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I think we can all agree on that. Whether you hate the Niners, you like them, you don't, you like the Rams, you don't, does not matter. At the end of the day, we can all agree the Niners are not a good matchup for the Rams. That's why this rivalry is renewed. It's why it's ugly. And it's why the Rams have to play almost an entirely different game than what they're used to when they go up against this team. That's a sign of a really well-coached football team, and a team that has like a foundation built, where now, okay, Robert Saleh left. He was tormenting the Rams. Well, now guess what? We have D'Amico Ryans, and he's going to be doing the same.
Yeah, because we adjust with these coaches, and we got these like Saleh was just a really good defensive play caller, but when it came down to going from D'Amico Ryans, this guy was an up-and-coming coach because he played in the league, and he's a well-respected guy. He has some football smart IQs. He's known how to adjust a little bit, because his first year last year was a little bit challenging. Now this year, it's looking a lot better than expected.
Yeah. Yeah, and shout out to Roberto. I just saw that comment. Sorry, I didn't even realize the comments were going. So
yeah. Oh, Peo said, "What's up?
What's up, Peo?"
And then we got our favorite guy, the one that just was on your show, like I think a few days ago.
Yes. We actually recorded 2 shows because Zencaster didn't save our first one. So that was fun. I joked we spent the whole day together. I mean, we recorded for like 4 hours, just about. What's up, Johnny? Yeah, I'm feeling better. Yeah. Also, forgot to mention. So we record 2 shows. This is right after I threw up. So it was a long day, man. It was a long day of CG. It was just yeah, it was a lot of fun. Glad I was able to do that collab with him. He kills it. Like I said, I mean, I've never had a bad experience with any Niner creator whatsoever. They're all very, very welcoming, and I appreciate that. Comments been going on for a while. Jake was on fire. Don't stop me. Has a lot to say. No, 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 no. CG, the floor is yours. I don't want to take too much of.
No, that's all good, bro. I like what you got to say, but it's right. You're true. It's true. We do give you guys the most problems. It's like we're that school bully that just knows how to get the best out of you guys.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, well, and I think also it's that. Let's be honest here. What Sean McVay has done and having that coaching tree is insane. But Sean McVay comes from that coaching tree, right? Like he has the same roots as like Kyle Shanahan. So they have similar offenses. Johnny Dell's actually mentioned it on the show, and he was like, Kyle Shanahan wants to run the ball, right? It's not necessarily that he thinks that Jimmy G can't do things. It's that he just wants to run the ball. It's not that Jimmy G isn't incapable of doing it. He just prefers to run it. Whereas, we're talking Sean McVay. The fans are over here like, run the damn ball. Are you kidding me? You're averaging over 5 yards a carry and you just stop. They get super pass happy. So I think one clearly loves to run the ball, and it makes it like that's like the identity, because the identity kind of breathes through a coach. And you can see that the identity of the Niners is to run the ball. And the identity with the Rams is to go pass happy. It's why they had to go out and get Stafford, because they wanted to be pass happy. So yeah, I mean that's how I see it. I see Coach Jimmy only had first team reps for a week against the Broncos. Now with all the media blasting him all week, do you not think he is going to bring it at home? Rams will be on silent count. The problem with Garoppolo is that he's just not that guy. Like, he's not a guy that's going to come out and throw 400 yards. That's not who he is. He's a guy who he's going to make some wow throws throughout the game. He's going to throw an amazing back shoulder to Ayuk down the sideline. He'll fit it between 2 defenders, and then he'll throw a bad pick. Or, maybe he'll just play it simple, and he'll play a very nice game, mistake-free. And then at the end, he tries to be that guy, forgets who he is, throws a pick. Yeah, like Johnny mentioned, it was the Jimmy G experience. And honestly, there's so many similarities between Garoppolo and Goff. It's insane. They're so similar because Goff can make every throw in the book. He's got unbelievable arm talent. I mean, really, when the guy has time. You saw him against the Vikings in 2018, I assume, the Thursday Night Football game against Kirk Cousins at the Coliseum. That was one of the most perfect games I've ever seen anybody play at quarterback. I mean, when he has time, you're seeing it with the Lions. They're protecting him. The offense is the most explosive offense in the league. But when you don't have stuff for him, the weapons aren't there. The offensive line is forcing pressure on him. He crumbles. And that's the thing. Like, Garoppolo is not a guy that really likes pressure. There are quarterbacks that actually invite pressure. Like, Stafford will invite pressure. He'll throw into what we call staring down the barrel of a shotgun. He'll do that. But you got to give him some room to do that, right? He doesn't care about throwing while he's getting hit, but he's got to be able to throw while he's getting hit and not throw before, or not get hit while he's throwing. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the thing here. But when you look at Garoppolo and Goff, though, they're so similar. It's crazy to me because I think a lot of people forget, Garoppolo, he was immensely talented coming out of college. I believe he went to the same school as Tony Romo.
Yeah, Illinois.
So, he's got talent. He wouldn't be in the NFL if he didn't. And I mean, I'll tell you right now, I bet, Carolina wishes they had him right now. Cause I mean, hey, he can run an offense. Say what you will about him. You can be, very critical of Garoppolo, and Rams fans are, and I'm sure I am, I'm critical of him for sure. But I mean, when push comes to shove, he steps up in those big games and, gives you a chance to win them. He's not Peyton Manning. He is not Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, but, the reason they're able to be in those games is because they have a quarterback that can run the system. It's almost like they're better off right now where they are having him run over Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance is going to be a star. I really believe that. I've said that over and over again. You know it. I came on here and I said, you got the best quarterback in the draft, but it might take some time. Yep. Garoppolo knows this offense like the back of his hand. So I really feel like because of that, like I said, he's not going to come out and wow you with 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. But, he'll give you something, and at the end of the day, he'll keep you in the game to win it. And he has not had a game against the Rams where he has taken them out of the game. He has not had a game at any point against the Rams where he's taken them out of the game. I don't think the Rams have only beaten him once, I'm pretty sure. And Garoppolo, I believe, is 10-1 coming off a loss.
Yeah, because his wins and losses against the Rams is like ridiculous. Like if you had to look at the complete ownage of a team, he has the most success. It's against the Rams, like you said. He's only lost 1 game in his entire career, but that's in the playoffs. Regular season, he's 6-0. Like you said, anytime he loses a game, the following week he bounces back. So it's like, is it just weird that we lose to 2 terrible teams and then we somehow just find a way to bounce back against a division team? Like, we make Seattle look like an afterthought and then we struggle against Denver. Like, what is going on?
I know. And I like the way you said that, because I like that you're not giving Denver that like media credit that they continue to get. I don't think they're that good. I really don't. And they just lost Javonte for the year. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not very high on Denver, but no, I agree with you. And I'm sorry, Grandizer 12. I just saw your comment. Okay. 3 keys to win the game versus the 49ers, 3 keys to win the game versus the Rams. Who is your team's player of the game if you win? So we'll start off with 3 keys to win the game versus 49ers. First off, number 1, very important, 49ers have to be able to rush the quarterback by only sending 4. You blitz Stafford, you give him a tell on what you're doing. When you give a very, very good quarterback a tell, and I think Stafford's a top 5 quarterback, you know my thoughts on that. But you give any top 5 quarterback, even top 10 quarterback, a tell on what you're doing on defense, they'll pick you apart all day. So don't blitz Stafford. You want to be able to get that 4-man pressure on him. That's really key. So that's the first thing. The second thing is establish the run. They want to run the ball, so this shouldn't be like very hard, right? Honestly, the Rams are top 5 this year in stopping the run, according to DVOA. Raheem Morris has put a premium on it. They held Cordell Patterson, who's one of the best running backs in football, right now. I know he's going on IR, but doesn't change what he's done. They held him under 50 yards rushing. They held James Conner in check. They held Devin Singletary in check. So, obviously Singletary isn't a top-notch guy, but he's a good running back. So the Rams have done a nice job stopping the run. Can they do that against the Niners? Because like I said, the second key is for the Niners to establish the run. And third, mistake-free football. If you do not turn over the ball, which is what the Rams defense is going to try to do. They're trying to take away possessions for you. Sean McVay is probably going to play this game a little bit differently than he normally would. He's probably going to go for the time of possession, probably not going to try to go for a ton of points, but probably try to bleed some clock and just win the game with time of possession if he can, and sustain long drives and tire out defenses. If you are not turning the ball over, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the Rams. On the other side, 3 keys for the game versus the 49ers for the Rams. First key, okay, establish the run. We know you love to throw, right? We get it. But you got to establish the run. There's no reason why you should be running 4 times, last week with Darrell Henderson. There's no reason, there should be a balanced run game, and you should establish it. Because a big reason for both of these teams to establish the run, even though the 49ers love to run the football, they still are predicated on the play action passing attack, right? It's that same type of link for the offense. The Rams are even more. They probably run play action more than anybody. And so when you look at that, in order to keep that play action going and not waste your time and give the defense an easy path to the football, you got to be able to run the damn ball. And you got Cam Akers, who was coming off a torn Achilles. I still can't believe he did it. And I don't think we give him enough credit. That was incredible to come back in the same year. But the way he ran against the Niners, the stats don't show a ton, but you saw him running hard, physical. And, he did put a pounding on the Niners defense. And then they stopped running the ball. And, that was week 18. Not week 18, sorry. The NFC title game. And, I feel like if they get him going and then they use Henderson and they use them both in succession, you kind of give different, flavors, different looks. And I think that could really keep the 49ers on their toes, which then opens up play action. Number 2, you have to be able to play up close because, they're going to want to play back a little bit, and they played back a ton against the Cardinals. And the reason for that is because, let's be honest, 3 of the top 4 corners were out. Same thing this week. But you have to play single high safety against the Niners, in my opinion. Because Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to test you down the field the way Kyler is, the way Josh Allen is. You got to play Garoppolo like you would a Marcus Mariota. Mariota is not going to take that deep shot, but he's going to take the short and intermediate. So you always have to worry about that. So you do want to play more of that. And then number 3, I think a big key to win is, and obviously, I mean, you could say passing and all that and, getting certain guys involved. But I'm going to say you got to get pressure on Garoppolo, man. You got to get pressure any means necessary. You got to make it uncomfortable for him. If he's sitting there with no pocket, or he's sitting there with a pocket and no pressure, it's going to be a long day for the Rams. Like, they got to be able to generate. They're not generating a ton of edge pressure, which is why I continue to speculate that maybe, just maybe, the Rams might acquire, and I have no knowledge on this, but the Rams could acquire later on in the year Brian Burns. Carolina looks like the worst team in football right now. Brian Burns is going into next year, would be his last year under contract. The Rams, right now, their pass rush needs to get going because it's not on the level it was the last time they faced the Niners. And CG, you and I watched that game. That game came down to the wire, and they had everyone on that pass rush. They had Von Miller. They had, Gaines, Donald, Floyd. Floyd's not playing the way he was last year, right? He's not bad, but he's not playing the way he was last year. Terrell Lewis has stepped up. Justin Hollins has stepped up. But the consistent pressure has to be improved this game in order to win this game against the Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers.
Yeah, it's so, the way you said it best, this is like the 3 keys that's important for both teams. But if I had to pick the players that had to step up for each team's, I think it has to come down to your running game becoming the X factor. Because if you guys can create a running play, this wears down our defense. And the Rams could be able to create more of the play action more and take away the pressure off of Stafford. But if I had to choose the key factor for the Rams on offense, I think Allen Robinson has to be the factor of this team, because if we're going to focus on Cooper Kupp, it's going to be more of a problem for Allen Robinson. He has to step up for y'all, or this can be a evenly matchup between the Niners and Rams. But the running game, Cam Akers or Henderson has to be the factor, because if your running game is going well, it's going to be a really interesting game, or it can be, like you said, it could be an ugly fashion like we had that previous Monday night game. But for the Niners, the running game has to step up, or else this offense could be a one dimension, because your guys are going to force Jimmy to throw the ball. You might even force him to throw deep when he doesn't want to. So that might be the one challenging part. But this running game, Jeff Wilson or Jordan Mason, those guys have to step up. And as far as the X factor, Brandon Ayuk has to have a breakout game. That's the way I look at it.
It seems like, and I want to get your thoughts on this, because I talked to Johnny about it, and I feel like Ayuk isn't as good as we thought he was going to be, right? I wasn't ultra high on him. Like, I felt like he was a little bit of a reach in the first round, if I'm being honest. And I was very high on Debo's ability to make plays after the catch, and that's what he's done. But they drafted guys to make plays after the catch. They didn't draft guys to stretch the field like DK Metcalf. They didn't draft the guy to play like Allen Robinson. They went after a certain archetype at wide receiver, guys that were big and played like running backs with the ball in their hands and could spring to the second level to the point where now I'm the strongest guy left on the field. where I'm in the second level and you're rolling with a safety who's 5'9" and 200 pounds, and my receiver's 225 and he's going to run your safety over. That is what the 49ers did. And I feel like Ayuk just is not where they want him to be. And so there's hope down the line. Danny Gray turns into something, the 3rd-round pick. He's going to be out in this game, unfortunately for them. Jawan Jennings, I think he's a pretty solid player. And then, of course, the guy that we really haven't even mentioned, George Kittle, because George Kittle's a Ram killer, okay? And George Kittle's gotten his feet wet for the first season back. Like, he's been out for the whole year pretty much until the Broncos game. And, he comes out and he gets 4 catches, 42 yards, whatever. But I don't know. Like, I just feel like when you look at Kittle, this guy, you always have to know where he is on the field. The Rams have shut down the tight ends this year. Kyle Pitts might be the best tight end in football. He was held 2 catches, 16 yards. They shut down Ertz and they shut down Dawson Knox, who was a touchdown machine in Buffalo. So the question is, do they do it this week against Kittle, who's had good success, 700 yards, 5 touchdowns all time against the Rams? That I don't know. I actually think they might hold Kittle under wraps. I think this is going to be a game where Debo just does his thing. I think they're going to use him a lot in the run game. I think they're going to be extra. They're going to put an extra emphasis on Debo, I think, using him in this one. So that's kind of how I see it, with the Niners. Garoppolo gets the ball out quickly. There'll be balanced yards throughout. I don't think anybody's going to have a ton of yards, but it's going to be balanced. You might have a 100-yard game out of Debo, but I think it's going to be a total, 100 yards total when you're putting his rushing and receiving together. I'm curious to see how they use Tevin Coleman and Marlon Mack if they do, because those are kind of some X factors there. Johnny mentioned he could see Tevin Coleman, or he was actually projecting. Not even that he could see. He was projecting that Tevin Coleman was going to house a touchdown. So that's a pretty bold prediction. And you better have your bets on the anytime scorer, because that could pay out pretty big. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how I see the 49ers offense. I think it's going to be predominantly a Debo Samuel day. And like you said, Ayuk does need to break out sooner or later.
Yeah, I do think the one guy that you guys might not pay much attention to is maybe Jennings. Maybe he might be the one guy that could be
I
a
don't
third.
know. He had 80 yards against them in Week 18. If you're sleeping on that guy right now, the way he cut you up, I don't know about that one. But I hear you. They might let him. And it might be honestly like a sacrifice thing, right? All right, we'll let him do stuff if we can kind of hold Debo in check or hold Kittle in check. They might they might trade 2 for 1 essentially. Take Debo and Kittle out, and then all right, Jennings can have his fun, have his yards or whatever. But we'll see it. It'll be very interesting to see how they come out and game plan against it. We saw the blueprint. There's a lot of different ways that they could be used, but we won't know until we watch the game. So I think the Rams will try to use Malcolm Brown and Ben Skowronek in the pass D. Will that be enough? I mean, I have yet to see Malcolm Brown get promoted to the active roster, so I don't know if he's going to play. I don't actually think he's going to, but I mean, if he does, that would add another, running back there. Could be interesting. I think Skowronek is, I think he is an X factor. He's not a secret weapon. Bates, I see you there, coach. Here's the thing, okay? This is why, Skowronek is so deadly, okay? And why he is a key to the offense. Because with Van Jefferson out, they don't have a deep threat field stretcher that they can rely on to do more than just that. Like right now, Tutu Atwell, they want to get him involved. I don't know if this is the game to do that. If they could get him involved, great. If they could hit that deep ball, that put a lot of pressure on the Niners, because now anytime that guy's out there, you have to look out for him. You still have to. But the way I see it when you look at Ben Skowronek is that I'm watching the Falcons tape, and Skowronek's lined up at fullback, and he's in the weak eye, and they run a stretch run to Darrell Henderson, finds the hole, hits it, walk-in touchdown. In real time, looks simple, right? Cooper Kupp seals off a block. But that's not what's interesting to me. What's interesting to me is that two guys that would have been there to stuff Darrell Henderson, they saw Skowronek go to the left side and cover the B gap, right? So he's going to block the B gap, and those two guys run over thinking Skowronek is the lead blocker for Henderson going to the left. It opened up a hole, gaping hole to the right side. See, Skowronek didn't even have to get the ball. They didn't even have to run to his side. And now teams are already like, hold on a sec. We got to worry about this guy. And that's the thing. And now, this is why it's almost better. Because when you look at, for instance, Juszczyk. I know Juszczyk was first, all that. But Juszczyk is not the athlete that Skowronek is. He's not. We have not seen a wide receiver just get inserted at fullback and be able to line up in the slot, line up on the outside, line up in line at tight end because he's such a good blocker, line up at fullback in the offset eye. We have not seen that. And the guy that's athletic enough, I mean, people, knock Skowronek, but he got behind the 49ers defense in the NFC title game. So while he dropped that wide open touchdown, he's still capable of getting to that level and getting past the defense. And now you have to worry about him. And then if you start to key in on him, well, what are you going to let Cooper Kupp get open? And then if you start to key in on Cooper Kupp and you whatever, are you going to let Allen Robinson beat you? Because one of these days, CG, Matthew Stafford and Allen Robinson are going to get on that same page. Could be tonight. Could be a little bit down the road. But when they get on that same page, it's going to be deadly. This offense is nowhere near where they'll be at the end of the year, obviously. But they're nowhere near where I expected them to be. They're behind. And I think a lot of that is because of Van Jefferson. But it is exciting because they are a 2-1 team. They could be 3-1 after the end of tonight. And if they're 3-1, they're nowhere near as good as where they should be. So that leaves a lot of room moving forward. They got a lot of injuries. And to be able to win a game on the road against your division rival, if they're able to come away with this one without Van Jefferson, without Kyron Williams, without, Brian Allen, David Edwards, Tremaine Ankrum, I mean, all sorts of injuries on their offensive line, without three of their top four corners, Jacoby Durant, David Long, Troy Hill, that is a massive win moving forward. That is one of those wins that can completely, this is where we start to talk about, did they lose that Bills game and they're about to rip off 6 straight wins or something like that? That's when you start to have those questions. So this would be a huge win for them. I do believe they're going to win this game. Like I said, it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be 24-18. I think at the end of the day, I think the Rams do win this game. I think it comes down to the Niners being able to go down the field and potentially win the game. If they score a touchdown, kick an extra point, the game's over, they'd win 25-24. But I think the Rams are going to get a stop on Jimmy Garoppolo, turnover on downs, or a turnover outright. But I think the Niners, we're going to be playing another game, CG. So get ready. Cardiac kids are back.
With the popcorn ready.
We're going to be playing another game where the final possession is going to be meaningful. And it's going to come down to the final possession. The 49ers, like the NFC title game, are going to have the ball and have a chance to win the game. And I'm not going to be able to breathe. You're probably not going to be able to breathe. And it's
I'm probably passing out.
And it's going to be exactly what this week has been. What has this week been? 9 games were decided by one possession?
Yes.
Crazy. That is the type of football we want to see. We don't want to see blowouts. We want to see thrillers. We want to see these games come down to the wire. This would be absolutely great for tonight because Monday Night Football needs it. They definitely need it. So that's how I see this one going.
Oh, man. So you see this as a 6-point favorite for you guys. But if it goes as planned for the Niners and Rams, I think they're both coming in between the 20 points. And I do see this maybe go as a nail biter with Robbie Gould with the game-winning field goal, which I see maybe a 21-24 type game. Because I think
I want to see him on the field.
I think second half you guys are going to make adjustments.
Yeah. I mean, I could see here's the thing that's kind of funny, right? The Rams get off to this hot start against the Falcons. They get off this hot start against the Cardinals. and then they kind of slow down, right? And against the Bills, they got off to kind of an start, and then they had a really good end to the first half, and then did not follow it up in the second half. I feel like this game is one of those where neither team is going to pull away at the beginning, and I feel like we might get some fireworks towards the end of the first half, and then the second half I think will be the entertaining one. It's still going to be ugly, but I feel like the second half we'll start to see some scoring, and the game molds into what it's going to be.
That's what it's going to be like. Maybe in the fourth quarter, you might see those type of scorings adding up.
Yeah. And for Johnny, I think the Rams are going to hit Cooper Kupp on a smash concept and score a touchdown. He's going to be so pissed. They do that every game. So
it'd be kind of awkward to see Stafford throw multiple picks, and it just happens to go to the Mr. Hufunga for that pick six. That would be the bumper of the week if that happened.
I kind of have a weird feeling neither quarterback is going to throw an interception.
So it's going to be like a limit type of game, play smart type of style.
Yeah, because I think it's going to be all about the running backs. And I mean, it's going to be like, hey, you see the ball, catch the damn ball. Like, I think there's going to be like third downs that you get where like the pressure gets to Garoppolo. He throws a beautiful pass to Ayuk for the first down and like he drops it. Or I could see it on Stafford's side where he throws a beautiful pass to Higbee and he has a concentration drop over the middle. Like, I feel like it's going to be that game where it's going to be point and shoot and be able to catch the ball, because if you don't, you're going to have a hard time. And so, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. But I kind of see it as going that way. I think Kupp comes away with 2 touchdowns. And then I think you get a touchdown from Skowronek. And then I think they kick a field goal. And for the Niners, I think they'll score. So the way I see with the Niners is I think that they're going to score, and then I think they're going to go for 2. And then I think they'll kick a field goal. Because I could see that, because the Rams tried to go for 2 last year, and that didn't pan out. But I could see like Kyle Shanahan trying to one-up Sean McVay, like, no, this is how you go for 2. And I just, I could see little things like that to try to like, crack the armor a little bit. So I'll say this right now. Any betting men out there, do not bet on quarterly score. Do not bet on first score. Don't do it. This game could go anywhere. Like, I am not, I'll tell you right now, I am not looking at this game like, oh yeah, the Rams are definitely going to be the first score of the game. Don't be that guy. I'm telling you, unless you have a DeLorean and you've come from the future, do not bet on first touchdown score unless you're betting small amounts.
It's going to be one of those games where it's going to, I don't expect it to be ugly, but it wouldn't surprise me like last year. Like you said, it depends on who struggles early on. But I think we're going to have a slow start in the first half and then halftime adjustments. I think late in the fourth quarter, we're going to see 2 teams put on some touchdowns and trade here and there, and then you might see it come down to overtime maybe, because quite a few of these Rams commentators think it could go to overtime this week.
It certainly could. I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't bet the under, and here's why. The under, Vegas knows. Vegas has it at 42.5 last time I checked. I mean, that's right around where my score would be. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to get like a 0.5, I'm just trying to get it by 0.5 points. I'm not trying to sit there and sweat the under. I would not do that. I would go alternate. If you could move it up to maybe 47, I'd feel comfortable doing that. I typically don't bet over under though. I'll be honest with you, CG. Unless, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are playing, because they just run up the score. I'm probably not going to bet the over or under on anything. I'll bet the over on the Chiefs. I'll bet the over on the Lions because they don't have a defense and they score a lot of points. So that is a recipe for success there. But typically speaking, like, aren't the Niners are 1.5, right? They're 1.5 favorites.
Yeah, 1.5 favorites according to what was picked on Vegas because it's a home game. And I guess because of the previous matchups, we fare well against you guys.
But keep in mind, CG, the default when you're at home, the default is 3 points. So technically, it's like a Rams favored game. So they're underdogs, but they're not, because if the standard's 3 points and they're only getting 1.5, that would lead me to believe that Vegas is saying the Rams are basically the favorite on the road. Not outright, but you see what I'm saying. So I don't know. I think the 6 points, I don't read too much into. I mean, it's one possession, right? I see it being a one possession game. I don't think the Rams should be 6-point favorites in San Francisco. That's not what I'm saying. But I think it's going to be 24-18. That's how I see it.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. So I think it's just one of those games. It's going to be pretty interesting battle because this division's open up. I just don't expect it to be a blowout. Like I just see it more like it's going to come down to the wire. These two teams, this may not be the last time you'll see them after the season. You might see them as a rematch in the NFC Championship game if it comes down like this. This has got the building of a rivalry that can be as good as the Niners and Cowboys.
Yeah. I really think this is one of the best rivalries in the NFL right now because, I mean, who's better? The Packers and Bears, the Eagles and Dallas, the Eagles and Giants, Giants and Dallas. I mean, those are older rivalries. Like, these guys just faced in the biggest game you could face in between two teams from the same conference. It does not get any bigger than that. So, I mean, it's like the Ravens and Steelers, but they haven't. Right now, you could argue this is the best rivalry in football. You could.
It is. Because
I mean, Amin the Dream. There we go. He's great. I totally forgot to mention him. And
he's a great dude.
He's fantastic. But yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like, if you're looking at now, like what have you done for me lately? The Rams and 49ers have given me an NFC title game. I'm not putting Dallas anywhere near until they win a division round. Okay.
Yes.
They have not won the divisional round. I don't want to hear it. Tampa, no. Tampa in New Orleans, that was ended in the wild card, right? Who else? I mean, Arizona and the Rams have won 12 of the last 13 matchups against Arizona. So no. Seattle, no. I don't think, like, the last time the Rams played Seattle, they beat them, and it has to be the Rams and Niners, because the thing that makes it such a great rivalry is all the games are close except for last year, 31-10. And when you look at it, this rivalry, like, it has that playoff flair to it, and no other rivalry has that. Not the Patriots and Bills doesn't, because now the Bills are good and the Patriots they might be good, but they're not. Like, these two teams are both really good. The Vikings Packers might, but I mean, I don't know. I think it's Rams and 49ers. I might be biased. Maybe I'm forgetting some obvious team. But I just don't like. What are you gonna say? Colts and Titans? That game yesterday was boring.
It was kind of like ridiculous. Like, I didn't want to watch the game.
Washington and Dallas, were you sitting there like, oh yeah, get your popcorn ready for this? No.
Nah, this game was whack.
So I don't think that there's a better rivalry in the NFL right now. Obviously, history is there for the Rams and 49ers too. I mean, they've had multiple NFC title matchups against each other. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's really even close at this moment, but maybe someone in the comment section can let me know. Maybe I've lost my mind, but I just don't think. But yeah, even like Chiefs and Chargers, they haven't faced each other recently in the playoffs. I just don't really think there's anybody on this level. And that's why tonight's game is just so big. If it was the Rams and Cardinals, everybody would be picking the Rams. There'd be those people that bet on the underdog that'd be rooting for the Cardinals, but everyone would be picking the Rams. Tonight's split. Even if it was Rams Seahawks or 49ers Cardinals, 49ers Seahawks, no one is picking against either of these two teams, against those teams. So tonight is a split game. I would say Ravens Steelers, but lately they haven't matched up. It's been the Steelers and Browns that have matched up in the playoffs. You just don't get the AFC title matchup, the NFC title matchup. I mean, yeah, I'm going to stick by it. I think the 49ers and Rams are the best rivalry in the NFL right now.
It's got the making to be a really good rivalry if they develop it the way it is. I mean, it could be more than just 2 times a year. It could be 3 times out of the year.
It could. They could play each other every single postseason. I mean, I before this season, I've since changed my prediction. I think the Rams are going to play the Vikings in the NFC title game. But before, I was like, do I have any reason to not pick Rams versus the Niners in the NFC title game rematch? I mean, like I said, I've changed it, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see it. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on that. I just feel like this rivalry has just reached like another level, and there's not really anybody in comparison at this moment.
I mean, it's just not even close. Like, you see these two teams go at it, and even from the beginning, it seems like the way it started off ugly, but then you see these last 2 games went very competitive. It went down to the wire. Like, You're going to see, like you said, we might have a little bit of blood pressure. We might even have a little attack, because that's just the game we look forward to. It puts the driver in our seat and get our popcorn ready. It's going to be one of those bumpy games.
Oh yeah, no, I hear you, and I think it's one of those things. I mean, you and I may be friends, but they're not. They're not friends on the field,
That's
man.
true. Like, Donald hates the Niners. It's mutual, just like Debo doesn't like the Rams. So it's like everything's mutual.
I mean, it was a little weird this offseason how every Rams fan was like, "Oh, Debo, come to the Rams." I'm like, man, you've been roasting him the whole year, and now you're gonna act like, oh, come on. No. I feel like, I just feel like this is the best rivalry. It's great for Monday Night Football, and man, I can't wait. We're still not even close. We're 4 hours away.
Yeah, for sure, man. But definitely thank you for being on the show, bro. I know you got some stuff to do, man, but it is an awesome vibe, bro. And shout out to the 30 people in attendance into the show, bro. It's remarkable. For everybody else, man, it's a blast. This is going to be a great game. For you, Jake, tell everybody where they can find you, and we'll definitely look forward to the near future, man.
Absolutely, man. Really appreciate you having me. You guys can follow me at Jake Bogan on Twitter. I have my own YouTube channel. You can find it. It's just Jake Ellenbogen. And I'm on, basically you could just Google my name, Jake Ellenbogen. I'll come up all different things. I got multiple Rams podcasts. You got the Believe in Rams podcast I just started doing. I got Downtown Rams podcast. I got Rams Edge, which is a podcast on Call In, where people can call in and we talk on there. I also have an MCU show, MCU Edge, where we talk MCU. So all sorts of projects. But CG, it's been a lot of fun, and I look forward to the next time, man.
For sure, man. I definitely need to go on your show.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Have a good one. And as always, CG Ruthless and Jake Ellenbogen is out. And peace, y'all. We'll see you next time.